Forget the corporate talk and join us from the 22nd of January to the 1st of March for the Chamberlain Back to Business promotion. Get amazing deals on everything you need to get going again, from paint mixing and power tools to hardware and building supplies. Plus, serious savings on siteware for clothes that work as hard as you do. Chamberlain, famous for hardware since 1903.
Thank you very much for listening. It's 1 minute past 1. Time for Eyewitness News.
This is EWN.
Police respond to a shooting at the Hyde Park home of Mugabe's son, and former Prince Andrew arrested by police in the UK. Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. Let's begin with breaking news this hour. Members of the Special Task Force and hostage negotiators Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. Let's begin with breaking news this hour. Members of the Special Task Force and hostage negotiators have been deployed to Hyde Park in Johannesburg following a shooting at the home of the son of former President of Zimbabwe, Robert Mugabe. EWN is currently on the scene where Bellarmine Mugabe has been seen in handcuffs. It's understood that a security officer has been shot at that homestead today. Oren Singh, our reporter, joins us live now from the scene. Oren, can you please take us through what is the latest?
Mbali, a lot of commotion here outside the home in Hyde Park, where Bellarmine Mugabe was seen earlier on in handcuffs together with another gentleman. We understand that members of the Special Task Force and hostage negotiators were initially called out to the scene after that shooting, as no one was willing to open the gates to the home here. It's a massive home in Bali with big black gates out at the front. Private security personnel, SAPS, on scene. We believe that the person, an employee of the Mugabes, was shot earlier and had been rushed to hospital in a critical condition. Police are currently inside with Bellarmine Mugabe, as well as other people who haven't been identified as yet, and have cordoned off the scene. We expected to get more insight from police when they are done questioning him, but this is a developing story, and we'll have more in our upcoming bulletins. For Eyewitness News, I'm Oren Singh in Hyde Park.
We take you now to another breaking news story, but in the UK now, police have confirmed the arrest of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor on suspicion of misconduct in public office. The arrest comes after police confirmed they were assessing a complaint over the alleged sharing of confidential material by the former prince with late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The former prince, who turns 66 today, has consistently denied any wrongdoing. The latest Epstein files released by the US State Department have revealed that more people believed to have had various interactions with the late financier. Epstein died by suicide in 2019 while in custody awaiting trial on sex trafficking charges. Back here at home in Limpopo, work is currently underway to extract a bus which crashed this morning from a ditch. Officials say 5 people have been confirmed dead so far, but the number may increase after the bus has been brought back onto the road. Preliminary reports indicate the driver lost control of the bus and it veered off the road. The exact cause of the accident will be subject to an investigation. Limpopo Traffic and Community Safety spokesperson Matume Tawiatswala.
The forensics pathologists are here. At this stage, it's not even clear who's the driver and who's not the driver. The bus is in the ditch, and it looks like we may be having 1 or 2 or 3 people under the bus.
The state has refused to cover the legal costs of former Public Enterprises Minister Malusi Gigaba. His legal representative told the Johannesburg High Court this morning that a decision has not yet been made on whether to appeal the ruling or not. Gigaba sought financial assistance from the state on the basis that the corruption charges he faces relate to alleged conduct during his tenure as minister. Gigaba's lawyer, Nicholas Kuri, explains.
So we feel that being a representative of the state, working for the state, that you're entitled to legal financial assistance. We made that application through the formal channels. As you heard in court, we got a rejection to that proposal as of yesterday. So we now need to sit with our client and consider our position, and that will pave the way forward on whether we're going to take the decision on review.
Gigaba's 5 co-accused in this matter, former Transnet executives Anush Singh, Siyabonga Gama, Brian Molefe and others, appeared in court this morning. The corruption case against them is linked to a multi-million rand Transnet tender scandal. They face charges of fraud, corruption and money laundering, with allegations they manipulated processes at the cost of the state. And the Tshwane municipality has reached an agreement with trade unions over the 1 billion rand in backdated salaries owed to workers. In 2022, the municipality reneged on implementing a previously agreed upon 3.5% salary increase for its workers, citing financial difficulties. After years of litigation, the municipality has agreed to pay that increase. During a media briefing today, Tshwane Mayor Nasiphi Moya says the backdated salaries will be paid out over 3 years, with the lowest earning workers receiving their monies first.
Importantly, those employees who leave the city of Tshwane, either through retirement or resignation, will be paid their outstanding back pay on exit. This settlement honors workers while safeguarding service delivery and long-term fiscal health.
Meanwhile, former Finance MMC Jackie Ace, who is part of the administration that applied for exemption from the 2022 salary increases, says the city's financial position has not improved since then in order for it to afford the increases.
Now, for the current administration to say that this will not have a financial impact on the city and it will also not have an impact on service delivery is a complete fallacy. What the reality is that they are taking this money from positions that could have been filled with electricity workers as well as with plumbers.
Gold is trading at $5,007.04 an ounce. The rand is at 16.15 to the dollar, 21.81 to the pound, 19.06 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $70.35 a barrel.
In Hurlingham, leaving Sandton, there's slow-moving traffic. This is on Winnie Mandela Drive between Sandton Drive and Republic, while in Maritzburg, Rudeport, also bumper traffic. That's leaving Soweto, heading towards Fourways N1 northbound, approaching Albertina Sisulu.
It's a partly cloudy afternoon in Gauteng today. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 29 and 30 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. A shooting has occurred at the home of the son of former Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe in Hyde Park. That's where police have responded this afternoon.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
Calling all the brightest minds in Gauteng. Time to flex your general knowledge smarts in the brain of 702. Enter now on primemediaplus.com. T's and C's apply.
You're with Relebogile Mabotja.
Live, streaming countrywide
on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
9 minutes after 1 o'clock. Welcome to 702 Afternoons with me, Relebogile Mabotja, on this Thursday, the 19th of February. Yeah, time is moving so quickly. We've got some interesting things that we're going to be talking about. Firstly, how far are you willing to go for something you believe you are entitled to? What is for you the breaking point thing that you are willing to do to say, not with me, not today. I am not the one. It is not the first time that we've seen of situations of a person bringing a body into a building to say, this is how far we are willing to go. Give us our things. Our Belief Matters feature We're going to talk about Africa and whether it's losing its heritage and why that even matters. We'll be joined by Dr. Albano Jopela, Executive Director of the African World Heritage Fund. And then we wrap up, as we do on a Thursday, with our consumer rights feature, Nola Knows with Wendy Nola. And we know that the queue gets quite long on that part of the show. So get your questions in super early. Give us a call. 011 883 0702, SMS us 31702, tweet at Relebogile M at Radio 702 using the hashtag 702 afternoons, and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
702 afternoons
With Relebogile Mabotja.
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
So you may have heard or seen of the story of the family in KZN who was left quite upset and frustrated, where they went to a bank, and because it's publicly known, I will mention it, Capitec, where they were protesting over unpaid insurance claim. In this protest, the family of the deceased took measures into their own hands and left the body of the deceased at the doorstep of the bank branch. The store had to temporarily be closed so that they could remove the body from the branch and have the body taken to the funeral parlor. And the two people suspected of leaving the body of the deceased at the branch have been apprehended and are in police custody. They claim that they had two funeral policy covers with the bank. The first got paid and the second had not, due to the funeral parlor stamp being unclear. Now, this has happened before, right? It's not the first time this has happened in South Africa. It's actually a third incident since 2019. In July of 2025, we had a family that took the deceased's coffin into a bank as well over delayed insurance payout. And in 2019, we also in KZN at a different bank branch. At that time, it was Old Mutual, where they had a similar dispute with the client, and the client also left the body of the deceased at the branch. Now, we have seen how we protest in South Africa. And every single time there are conversations around protests, right? You'll have the side of the argument who says, when we follow the correct procedures, when we follow what we are told to follow, nothing happens. Hey? But when you do things like blocking roads or putting burning tires in the road, when you do things like stopping traffic, when you do things like burning a library or maybe even setting a school on fire, then they listen. Then they get attention. And it's interesting that we're having this conversation when Wendy Nola is going to be coming through later. Not everybody has a Wendy Nola, right? That can send an email and make sure you're not left that frustrated. But I think this conversation goes much further than just insurance payouts. It's about how far you are willing to go for what you believe you are entitled to. Now, when these conversations happen, there will always be the group of people who are willing to do things that others might consider extreme. And when the opposite side of the argument, individuals who say, but why burn schools, or why punish other road users? Why affect the water? Why it's counterproductive? They will say, you are speaking from a point of privilege. You don't understand the frustrations that we are facing. Whether it be the frustrations of I'm trying to get attention at the local hospital or clinic, but I'm not getting attention. So it's easy for you to sit and cry Ubuntu when we feel the impact of illegal immigrants and foreigners in the country. It is easy for you to say, but don't burn the school, because you're not sitting in the frustrations that people are sitting in. It is easy for you to say, don't block the roads. Why? Because you're sitting in a place of privilege. So I want to hear from you. And this conversation can obviously be quite nuanced because it depends how personal it goes. If a person is grieving, let's say you've lost your mother or your father, and you watch them work to the bone, paying a policy monthly. Now, when it is time for you to do the things you would like to do to honor that person, and I'm not just speaking about this, I'm saying in general, I don't know what I would not do. I have to be honest. I don't know what I would not do. I'm a parent now. Maybe I would go very far. And because of that, I look at these situations with a bit of a different lens. To say, maybe sometimes it's easy to judge. Maybe sometimes it's easier to say, but guys, how unhygienic is it to take a body into a public space? It's actually dangerous. Why would you do that? Couldn't he have done something else? Wasn't there a guy who once, and I don't remember where it was, I think it was Home Affairs, where he held one of the workers hostage, and I stand to be corrected because this was a while back. And I think they used like the telephone cable lines to tie the person up because they did not have an ID. Now me, having had my ID, I don't know the experience of not having an ID, where your life cannot move. And then you look at situations like that, when you've lived a little, experienced a little, and you say, you know what? It might not have been that woman's fault. I don't agree with violence. I don't agree with endangering people. I don't agree with all of these things. However, I get where they're coming from. I see what the challenge is. And if I were in that situation where I can do nothing without an ID, I might have even held everybody else in Home Affairs hostage to say, if my life must stop, all our lives are going to stop because somebody must come and give me my ID. Or somebody better show up here and make sure that this policy is paid. 011 883 0702 and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
You're listening to 702 Afternoons
with Relebogile Mabotja,
winner for the best talk show
at the Telkom Radio Awards.
All right, we go to the lines on 011 883 0702. Charles in Pretoria. Hi, Charles.
Good afternoon, Relebogile. How are you today?
I'm good, thanks, and you?
I'm excellent. Okay, so on my side, I took out a warranty with a reputable insurance brand. 7 months I've been talking to them. Listen, here is the paperwork. This is what the document says. And I've complied with everything, but you know what's the answer? They're saying that they need photos, and I'm like, so you want me to take out a part that needs to be replaced if you take it out, or you want to pay it back? And this morning what I've done, I've sent them an email to say that, guys, if you don't pay me out for the claim that I've made, can you please pay me back all my premiums? Because it's like I'm just donating money for them.
So where did the situation end up?
Right now, as I speak to you, they called me back around 8 this morning. And I told them, listen, I'm done talking because for 7 months, my vehicle is not okay and I have taken out a warranty. And I did stipulate to them to say that as a insurance, when you increase our premiums, you claim about increase in parts and labor. But now when you have to pay out, you don't want to pay because you're saying that there's no enough evidence to support the claim that you're making.
Hi.
So, yeah, I'm stuck.
Yo, Charles, I'm going to ask you to stay on the line. I'm going to pass you to our producers. Maybe we'll see if Wendy can intervene. Did you try to get help from an ombudsman?
I did. They have an ombudsman, and guess what? No help.
Sure. All right, Charles, stay on the line for me. I'm going to pass you back on to our producer to let's see how we can assist, especially because it is the day that Wendy Nola is coming through. There's a message that says, I feel their frustration. 1 year, a guy walked into one of the banks in the CBD with a bag full of live snakes. Another person also says, do you remember the guy who in frustration left a puff adder or puff adder at the bank? I can't recall the details of what frustrated him, but Shem, he was at the end of his tether. These things happen. These things happen. And I think as I've gotten a bit older, I judge a little less when people go to certain extremes, because all we are seeing is the part of the body. We're not seeing the build up. We're not seeing the other things. Right? So even the guy who needed an ID, all we saw was the reaction to the frustration. And I think it is possible to condemn an action that a person does, but to be able to also look at the person with empathy for them to reach that place. 011 883 0702. The WhatsApp line is 072 702 and 702. We have some voice notes that we see and some of your messages. Let's take a break.
Clement Maniatella.
Weekday mornings,
9 to 12.
9 to 12.
When we talk about longevity, you've been around and you've come back, you've done a TV show, you've come back into acting as well. But what I found interesting was these little breaks that you take. And I don't know if that's intentional or if there's work that comes and you just take it.
I am intentional about taking a break because I find that the industry can easily consume you. It can eat you alive. Because it consumes you, end up feeling like a consumable, and lose the essence of who you are. Well, with me, so it was always a choice that I would get out of it and come back in again.
The legendary TV presenter and businesswoman Zandi Mhlapo.
Clements Maniatella.
9 to 12 on 702.
The Checkers Extravaganza is now on, with over 1,500 deals every week. Like Kellogg's Cornflakes cereal 1 kg for $74.99. Lancewood Cheddar or Gouda cheese 900 grams for $129.99. And Pampers Active Baby or Premium Care nappies or pants. Buy any two and get a third free. Valid until 22 February 2026. Only at Checkers, Checkers Hyper, or shop on 6060.
Alcohol drowns our hope and fuels our pain. Our streets are flooded. Our families are breaking. Women and children are not safe. Alcohol kills 100 people in South Africa every day. For more information, visit www.truecostofalcohol.africa. Increase excise tax on alcohol.
To walk the talk is to turn words into meaningful actions. And it's what we at 702 are committed to doing every day. We're also committed to following the rules set out by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission's Code of Conduct. To give you balanced programming, fair comment, and accurate news. But if we stumble along the way and you feel we're not living up to the code, let us know on comment@702.co.za. And if after that you're still not happy, you can direct your complaint in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission, PO Box 412365, Craig Hall 2024. For more, visit bccsa.co.za.
South Africa's youth face a real crisis with 8.8 million young people between the ages of 18 and 35 not in education, employment, or training. But there's a solution. SA Youth is the country's largest free online youth recruitment platform, connecting employers to over 4.5 million young work seekers. Join Shami Surainarain, who is Chief Impact Officer at Harambee Youth Employment Accelerator, on The Money Show with Stephen Curtis next Tuesday at 10 minutes after 7 p.m. as she shares how SA Youth is breaking barriers, supporting over 3,000 employers and powering entry-level opportunities across all sectors. Only on 702, let's walk the talk.
702 afternoons.
With Relebogile Mabotja.
Lines are always open.
On 011
883
0702.
26 minutes after 1 o'clock. How far are you willing to go for what you believe you're entitled to after the recent incident of a body in a bank over an unpaid policy? 011 883 0702. We go to Dineo in Alberton. Hi, Dineo.
Hi, Lebo. How are you?
Good, thanks. And you?
I'm good, thanks. I just want to say, I know it's very easy for us on the outside to judge the situation. However, I used to work for the bank. I promise you, it's very frustrating. It's very frustrating. We had clients that would wait for a month and not getting their claim paid out because the stamp is not clear. But a sibling who also claimed using the very same document their pay was paid out. When you call through, you find someone who is very relaxed while you're having a very frustrated client in front of you who tells you that I took out a loan to actually bury this person. What am I supposed to say? You call and they tell you, I'm sorry, ma'am, there's nothing we can do. We need that clear step. So when clients start taking very drastic measures, I always understood because I would feel frustrated myself even though we expected to keep the clients calm and whatnot. But I understand exactly where that family came from. I know a lot of people are saying they didn't love the person and whatnot. I don't think that's the case at all. And also, I think it also lies with the branch managers. They need to escalate better because the company does have a process. If you escalate and follow up for a client, they eventually do help you, but most they do not, and it's frustrating.
Thank you for sharing that perspective, Dineo, because I think when I was younger, I would sit and think to myself, why would people do something like that, blah, 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 until I was at a store where, again, you're sent from pillar to post, and it was not even death related. It was trying to solve an issue where I was so mad that I was like, you know what? I don't blame that guy for holding people hostage because you want to be heard.
Absolutely, because another one would come, and they've been coming since last week, Wednesday. They're burying this Saturday, and today it's a Friday. And me being a black person, I understand. They're saying today we're supposed to slaughter a cow, and they're waiting for the payments. It's where is the money? And I don't know what to say anymore because they keep on saying the stamp is not clear. And the people are frustrated. They're like, we're not leaving the branch. We're going to sit on this branch and cry. And really, it's heartbreaking, so I'm not judging at all.
So what do you think about the fact that the two people were arrested for leaving a body in the bank?
I understand there are a lot of legal issues. I understand that it's against the law and whatnot. But it's very sad that it had to get to that point. I'm not sure how the case was opened, whether the bank or what happened.
Yes.
But it's justified. I know it's not justified, the manner on which it happened, them dropping off the body and whatnot. But their anger is justified. Some people wait for a month because of minor things that could have been resolved if everyone was doing their job.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that perspective, Dineo in Alberton. And I try my absolute best when it comes to certain situations to be mindful. There's a message that says your presenter is so irresponsible and absurd. She stupidly mentioned burning a school. That violence. Yes, I agree on non-violent protest, like leaving a dead body at the bank. She must apologize because the example can put her in big trouble with the law. Fortunately, the BCCSA is available for you. And coming up, the Mahindra Fusion Fest quiz. To enter, WhatsApp the keyword Mahindra to 0727021702 with your name and ID number. We could be calling you back to play for up to 10,000 Rand cash and 2 tickets to the fest. Guys, please know we actually want you to get the money. We want make it easy for us to give you this money. T's and C's apply. It's 1:30. Time for your latest Eyewitness News headlines. Good afternoon.
Thanks, Relebogile. Good afternoon. Let's begin with breaking news. The son of former Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe is currently being questioned by police following a shooting at his home in Hyde Park. 29-year-old Bellarmine Mugabe was seen handcuffed by police inside the luxury property today. It's understood that a security officer who works for the Mugabes was shot there earlier today. To another developing story in the UK, police have confirmed the arrest of former Prince Andrew, on suspicion of misconduct in public office. The arrest comes after police confirmed they were assessing a complaint over the alleged sharing of confidential material by the former prince with late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The former prince, who turns 66 today, has consistently denied any wrongdoing. And the Tshwane municipality has reached an agreement with trade unions over the 1 billion rand in backdated salaries owed to workers. In 2022, the municipality reneged on implementing a previously agreed upon 3.5% salary increase for its workers, citing financial difficulties. After years of litigation, the municipality has agreed to pay that increase. Well, those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 2 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Well, at this hour,
hello, Karabo.
Hey. Are we still there? Good afternoon to everybody in 702 land, but not Good day, everybody. Things looking really good on our roads. Nothing hectic really to report on. It's a good Thursday afternoon. Otherwise, traffic lights still not working, and you can expect delays as the afternoon progresses as you approach the intersection of Corlett and Ethel Oakland in the Ilovo area. Also, traffic lights not working in Hyde Park, still at Jan Smuts and Republic. Traffic lights out of order as well in the Lone Hill area at Lone Hill Boulevard and Main Road. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Bongani Bingwa, 702 Breakfast.
Weekday mornings, 6 to 9.
What a shocking story, hey? The mother in the family dies of a heart condition. The grieving daughter and the aunt approach a prophet to try and figure out, was there some foul play in the mother's death? The prophet says it's a family member who did it. They then go and find this Sangoma who points at the father. They try to poison the father. That doesn't work. So the daughter hires hitmen. She is charged. The hitmen are charged. So is the Sangoma. Isn't that a shocking story?
Bongani Bingwa, 6 to 9.
On 702.
Pedal Power Association proudly supports the Cape Town Cycle Tour. And it's more than just a ride, as every entry helps change a life. Proceeds from the race are donated to communities in need, opening doors to education, work and independence. And for every 20 cyclists who enter from Jozi, one bicycle is donated to a community in need. So when you pedal, you're not just riding for yourself, you're helping communities move forward. Go to CapetownCycletour.com, proudly supported by Prime Media Cares.
Every day I'm hustling. It's our reality as business owners. And it's good to know that there's someone out there who takes care of the business that makes the business. Gotta love My Way Business Insurance. Saving big on premiums with 24/7 emergency services, plus My Business Assist with marketing, legal, and labor advice services.
Visit myway.co.za or dial 0860 64 64 64 and get a quote today. My Way is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's, C's, and standard rates apply. My Way. Live your way.
Brush, stroke, paint, color, protect, and admire. From roof paint to exterior textures and interior silk, Warrior Paints has it all. The product range and stylish colors are amazing. And what's more, Warrior Paints has crushed prices for incredible savings. Enjoy that good old-fashioned personal service you deserve. For price, quality, variety and service, Warrior Paints is street ahead. Warrior Paints, affordable, lasting, luxury.
WhatsApp Relebogile on 072 702 1702.
25 minutes to 2 o'clock. We've got a couple of voice notes and messages that have come from all of you as we answer the question, how far would you be willing to go to get what you believe is rightfully yours, what you are entitled to, after a body was left in a bank branch over an unpaid policy. Tuso on Facebook says the only way to get that is only when we fight, which is very absurd, but on this dispensation, sometimes that's the only solution. Tepo says, if I'm pushed enough, I'd go to extremes too. The incidents like that don't just raise eyebrows, they expose something deeper about trust, power, and perception between ordinary people and financial institutions. Wow, you actually said that quite well. Another one says on the WhatsApp line, yeah, you're right, Lebza. The guy held up the teller's desk at Home Affairs office downtown, Commissioner Street in CBD, which wasn't far from John Foster Square. I remember we listened to YFM back then, circa 2000. The distraught guy called on the afternoon drive show and specifically requested to speak to DJ Sbu live on air. The guy, the gun he was later found to be using was a toy. He had lost out on so many opportunities in life because of a mess created by Home Affairs. He was literally unemployable. Maybe you should do a follow-up on some of these cases when you find the time. Should make for some interesting radio ship from a Job Soprano. Maybe we should do something like that. And another one says, Relebogile, I have once bought a laptop at the beginning of Feb, and end of February I was hospitalized for a month. And when I came back, the laptop wasn't working. Nobody was using it, and they said they'll fix it. I made a lot of noise, a drama in front of customers, and I was given my money back. If I wanted an old laptop, I would have gone to a pawn shop. I actually, let me tell you, and I'm not saying you guys must do this. I'm sharing a story where a guy, what he did, it was one of the government departments, was not paying him. And he paid a homeless person to sit in the reception and just not leave. Like he was giving him food and saying every day this homeless person is going to sit here until you guys pay me. And then he was paid. Like all of a sudden your things know how to work? For real? Hey, for real? I am so curious about situations like that where I'm like, what did a person have to do if they were following the correct channels? And again, I reiterate, we do not encourage violence, criminal activity. But we also are human beings that can sympathize when people are at the end of their tethers. Here are your voice notes on 072 702 and 702.
Hi, Relebogile. Lavuya from Rudeport. This thing of leaving bodies at a bank, my concern is for the person who has passed away. I mean, I get that we're trying to make a point, we're trying to make but think about the person. This is your loved one that has passed away and you just abandon them in front of a bank, at a mall, or just... I think we have better ways. I mean, we as the family can go sit in front of the bank and grieve there with our blankets and mattresses, but abandoning our body, I don't know if I can say it. I can just imagine how the person in the coffin feels. I know it's crazy, but sure.
Good afternoon, Relebogile. I 100% disagree with you. Where you're saying we have to put ourselves into the situation of people destroying things for other people. That is selfish and that is non-productive. Those people should be dealt with decisively. There is no excuse for any person, regardless of circumstances, to destroy public buildings that offer public services to people that have earned the right or have gotten the financial support in order to get in. Why should they now be disadvantaged? Because there's a few disgruntled people out there that didn't get their way and then they burn it down. That is the wrong mentality. We shouldn't push that forward. We shouldn't even talk about it that way. It is absolutely wrong. And that is wrong in society worldwide for us as a society to allow these things.
Yes, I remember that story about his name was Kabelo. Around about 2006, 2007, he couldn't get an ID, or Home Affairs wasn't giving him an ID, and he couldn't write his matric. And he had been trying to get an ID, but then obviously with no luck, and he was at his wit's end, and he just went. And then they found out obviously that the gun that he had was actually a toy gun.
Where is the humanity at times like these, where you can look at situations where you value property more than you do people? Let us remind ourselves that we are people first, because that is privilege. You are in a place where you can value property before you value people. Disgruntled completely undermines the suffering that many have experienced. Thank you so much for all of your messages, calls, and voice notes.
Fashion, art, and music will take center stage. And so can you by playing the Mahindra Fusion Fest quiz on 702.
It is that time, the Mahindra Fusion Fest 2026 going down on Saturday, the 7th of March at Sunbed Arena, and it's going to be a cultural revolution, fusing unique expressions of music, fashion, and art into one-off performances for one night only. Muesli is hosting again with live performances by Daliwonga, Focalistic, Kurt Darren, Claire Johnston from Mango Groove, Zingumalo, the Tshwane Gospel Choir, and more. Get your tickets now at Ticketmaster, complete a test drive at your nearest Mahindra showroom, and stand a chance to win the Mahindra XUV3XO. T's and C's apply. So we ask you to send your names and your ID numbers, and guess what? Lindelani Mudau from Pretoria, you've made it to air. How are you doing?
I'm well, thanks. How are you, Relebogile?
I am good, and listen, I want to give you this money. Kopa uskang disappointer.
Oh my word, I hope the questions are easy.
You hope the questions are easy. Well, we know the rules, right? Yes, you get to choose a category, art, fashion, or music. What are you going with?
I'll go with fashion.
Fashion it is. You've got 30 seconds. I'm going to ask you 5 questions, and each one counts for 2,000 Rand. Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
All right, start the clock. True or false, denim is fabric?
True.
What is formal wear?
Suits. Like, yeah.
What goes on your wrist but doesn't tell the time?
A bracelet.
What is a fashion collection?
Gucci.
Fashion showcases may take place at Mahindra Fusion Festival. True or false?
True.
I'm looking at the judges. I didn't hear your answer. What did you say a fashion collection is?
A fashion collection could be Gucci.
Judges, we are generous, but are we that generous? So the correct answer is a range of clothes. But you know what, Lindelani? Oh, yeah. You've won yourself 8,000 Rand cash.
Oh my goodness.
8,000 Rand
so
and 2 tickets to the Mahindra Fusion Fest for 2026, powered by 702. How are you spending the money?
I am going to pay bills.
Ma'am, pay them bills. But you know what? After the debit orders, you go and party and enjoy the fest. Make sure you stay on the line to chat to the team, and we take your details. Catch us again tomorrow for another chance to play the Mahindra Fusion Fest quiz on 702.
In the last 24 hours, this is what's happened in your world.
Shadrach Sabia has denied a friendship with alleged criminal kingpin and tender tycoon Vuzi Kat Matlala.
The National Commissioner alleges that it was indicated to him that I am close friends with Mr. Matlala. I vehemently deny that I am. or have ever been.
Sabia first met Matlala at his office in January 2024. Matlala approached Sabia to assist with utilizing the police college to conduct his work around his 360 million rand police health scheme tender.
We didn't develop a friendship, but we have interacted.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent.
Think fast, fast downloads, fast streaming, fast wins. Because whether you're chasing high scores, deadlines, or the next episode, buffering is not part of the plan. That's why your home needs the power of OpenServe Fiber, fast, reliable Wi-Fi that keeps up with your life, rather. And when you sign up before the end of March, you will score a free Netflix voucher. Level up your home connection with OpenServe Fiber and feel the difference speed Speed makes. Visit openserve.co.za today. That's openserve.co.za today. T's and C's apply.
Andile here with more than just a horse betting ad. Bet on the horses at 10bet and ride with a 20% free bet boost on your deposit. It's more than just a race. It's a 10bet experience. Join now at 10bet.co.za. 10bet is a licensed betting operator and supports responsible gambling. No person under the age of 18 shall be permitted to bet. Betting can be addictive. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line is 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
If a holiday is on your list this year, now's your chance. For 4 days only from the 19th to the 22nd of February, the Pop-Up Flight Center Travel Expo is unlocking limited time deals on holiday packages, cruises, tours, and more. Catch the expo at Sandton City Center Court or get the same offers at Flight Center stores nationwide. But hurry, once the expo ends, the deals do too. Flight Center, your center for travel.
702
Belief matters.
Exploring culture, traditions, religion,
and the beliefs that shape our world.
13 minutes to 2 o'clock, Belief Matters time. And we're asking the question around our beautiful continent, Africa, and whether it is losing its heritage. Because heritage does matter, and we're going to find out why. We're joined by Dr. Jopela, Executive Director of the African World Heritage Fund. And we take your calls on 011 883 0702 and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702. Doctor, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for the invitation and for having us.
Let us start with why this question even came about in your mind before being part of the African World Heritage Fund. Being an African yourself, I'm sure that question has swirled in your mind before.
Very interesting. So I'm a trained archaeologist, and one thing that fascinates me is basically understanding past societies through the remains of what we have, what we inherit, and we can look into the most magnificent monuments that we have around the world. We used to call them the 7 or 5 wonders. You think of the pyramids in Egypt. But today, if you look at the Great Wall in China or the Eiffel Tower in Paris, you're basically looking at those legacy places that tell us not only of the past societies and civilization, but also in Africa, something very unique with archaeology is that if you are in some of the landscapes, for instance, Mapungubwe on the confluence with Sashe Limpopo in South Africa, it is basically a hill where it tells the story of one of the most developed central states in the 10th century in Africa that was connected to the Indian Ocean all the way to the Far East. So this passion for history and the deep history is something that always basically got a soft spot in my heart.
I actually find that so interesting and beautiful because we know on our continent a lot of our history lives beyond in your space, but in what was told and not what was written. And I think that we forget because of how colonized our minds and our existence has been, how much actually came from here. So if we are to look at history through archaeology, what does it tell us? I can only imagine the stories that it has told us.
Yes, if we across the continent, if we say what has marked Africa the most, and we can start from the recent past and say, okay, colonialism, which in countries have just ended very recently. You can think of slavery.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you imagine that you are in a classroom teaching about those concepts, it might be very difficult for a child to understand because one has to actually have the imagination. Then it's different when one then takes to an actual place. You can take to a Constitution Hill prison to tell about the history of the struggle against apartheid. You take it to Robben Island.
Yes.
And the idea of Mandela, you take to Mandela House in Soweto, and you move from those abstract constructions into a very concrete spaces where now a site is at the same time a classroom. And that, when we look across the continent, that's probably one of the key lessons that we get, not only in terms of the sites, because you don't really look only at constructions and buildings that you would, for instance, have in other cultural contexts, such as in Europe. But for instance, you look at the Buganda Kingdom Palace in Uganda, which is basically a thatch roof. But most importantly than the building is the practices associated to the know how to build, the oral traditions, and everything that actually come with that cultural group. And those are in one of the things that, for instance, very privileged in Africa, that we don't have that clear distinction between what is tangible, or a building is not just a building, or if one may, a tree is not just a tree. It's a tree, but it's also a place of the ancestors. It's something else. And we often don't make this association, and we often don't put this heritage at the center of what we do, of the education, or even our tourism, for that matter.
So when we now look at the question around our heritage and whether we are losing it, I'm inclined to go with the view that we are losing it in many ways, but I'm not sure from the perspective of the African World Heritage Fund, how do you measure what loss looks like in terms of our heritage? I will use, for example, just the purity of our languages. For example, there are dialects that are disappearing as one of the examples, but I'm sure there are certain things that you look at, a checklist that will say, where are we with this, where are we with this, therefore based on this we are losing our heritage.
I mean, it's a very complex question, because on the one hand, first, in terms of the global setting, one can say, for instance, that UNESCO, which is the United Nations Agency for Education, Culture and Science, has basically compartmentalized the heritage into what they call the intangible one, the language, culture and traditions, and what is more sort of the sites and so on. Now, the African World Heritage Fund works in the space of the World Heritage Convention, which is basically looking at sites and landscapes and spaces. Now, in this context, if you look into those sites, for instance, South Africa has 13 sites on the World Heritage list. And if you say, okay, I'm picking Robben Island, what does the loss of heritage looks like if you're looking at Robben Island? So the degradation of the buildings that tell the story of the imprisonment, the coral site where the prisoners were taken to do hard labor. So all those elements are the ones that it say that are to be preserved. But if you look at the ex-political prisoners, who sometimes today they will take you on a tour when you visit the site, and the stories they tell, and as the generation then moves and as people actually die, you can also look at that perspective and say, okay, what will happen in a couple of years when you no longer have that generation of the people who were imprisoned there. Now the authenticity of the narrative and how do you actually preserve. So there are a lot of elements that contribute, but also as the ways of life also change. Today we have lots of pressures, let's say, from climate change, and those force us not only to change the ways of life, but also the way societies and communities do things. So when you think of, in this case, the work of the African World Heritage Fund, which was created in 2006 to essentially help countries and communities across the continent on how do we first select what we have as the best representation of Africa heritage, to share it with the global community by inscribing on the UNESCO list, but also how do we then mitigate and manage change in a way that, one, is acceptable, but also it's always aligned with people's aspirations in terms of their development needs and development goals. So it's quite tricky to basically say we are losing our heritage. Yes, there is a lot of pressures in it, but also there are ways of responses that basically are also dynamic, and probably the response to the threats is what will determine what we actually able to leave to the next generation.
What do we do now about it? Because already we're aware we have a whole generation that experienced apartheid that at some point is going to be gone. And there are many stories that are going to be lost. There are many stories that have already been lost from individual experiences. But what can every individual that is listening do to help in preserving our African heritage?
Obviously, there's so many that could do. One, first, if we take a bit of time to learn and to value, what that will mean is that the history and the past will not only be left in the past, but basically comes to the present and inform our present choices. So if, let's say, again, if you think of the Sharpeville massacre in South Africa, and you say, okay, what are the lessons? But it's not just in abstract, it's also an opportunity for the children of today to basically learn what apartheid was beyond the oral tradition. But on the other side also, there is a call, and this is why, for instance, over the weekend, the African World Heritage Fund was at the Heads of State Summit in Addis Ababa, where we take the message to the decision maker, to the heads of state, on the need for investment in heritage. Because if we look at our key areas in the economy, look at tourism, for instance, there are countless countries in the world that are making a huge revenue and sustaining livelihood on tourism, on a tourism that is based on heritage, be it natural or cultural.
Yes.
So you have a number of avenues where the idea of heritage as an anchor for a sustainable development just has to be mainstream, so that the youngsters that are more interested in tech today, they can actually see how tech can also enhance the safeguarding and dissemination of their own heritage. Because at the end of the day, it is that DNA that makes us African. It is our African heritage.
And I'm so glad you mentioned tech. I mean, it's not so long ago we had a gaming team that developed a game called Relooted, where people can go and reloot all African artifacts from around the world. And I think the beauty of the new generation is we can find creative ways to truly preserve our heritage. Doctor, thank you so much for your time with us today in our Belief Matters feature, 7:02 afternoons at 702.co.za for any of the topics you'd like us to address in the next hour of the show. Wendy Nola joins us. It's 2 o'clock.
This is EWN.
Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. The son of former Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe is being questioned by police following a shooting at his house in Hyde Park. 29-year-old Bellarmine Mugabe was seen handcuffed by police inside the luxury property today. It's understood that a security officer who works for the Mugabes was shot earlier today. Oren Singh is there.
Members of the Special Task Force and hostage negotiators were alerted to an incident in Hyde Park earlier after a security guard was allegedly shot at a home occupied by Robert Mugabe's son. Bellarmine Mugabe is being questioned by police in connection with the shooting. It's understood he had barricaded himself in a room earlier and was refusing to open the gates to the large property to allow police in. The Special Task Force was then sent to the scene and Mugabe eventually opened the gates. He and another unidentified individual were seen in handcuffs. Aaron Singh, Eyewitness News, Hyde Park.
Ekurhuleni authorities are responding to a mass factory fire in Dalville, Germiston this afternoon. It's understood the blaze broke out at a local chemical factory, forcing a mass evacuation. Residents have been warned to avoid the area completely over fears of explosions. It's not yet clear what caused the fire, but work is underway to extinguish it. Ekurhuleni EMS spokesperson William Ndladi.
We are evacuating currently. Basically, all the personnel and staff members around the factory itself up until we find out exactly what chemicals do they have and the dangers that are related to them.
In Limpopo, work is underway to extract a bus which crashed this morning from a ditch. Officials say 5 people have been confirmed dead so far, but that number may increase after the bus has been brought back up onto the road. Preliminary reports indicates the driver lost control of the bus and it veered off the road. The exact cause of the accident will be subject to an investigation. Limpopo Traffic and Community Safety spokesperson Matume Tauya-Tswala.
The forensics pathologists are here. At this stage, it's not even clear who's the driver and who's not the driver. The bus is in the ditch, and it looks like we may be having 1 or 2 or 3 people under the bus.
Suspended Deputy National Police Commissioner Shadrack Sibiya claims his former subordinate invited alleged criminal kingpin Vusimuzi Matlala to the SAPS Service Excellence Awards. Sibiya has been testifying at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry in Pretoria, and he has suggested that Hilda Sintumule, who is currently acting in his position, has a very questionable relationship with Matlala. Earlier, Sibiya played a 4-minute recorded telephonic conversation that he had with Sintumule, where she alleges that Mkwanazi has a plot to destroy his reputation. Babalondenze reports.
According to Shadrack Sibiya, his former subordinate, Hilda Sentumule, had accepted a donation from Vusimuzi Matlala for the SAPS Service Excellence Awards.
It appears that Matlala was invited on the instruction of General Sentumule to attend the SAPS Service Excellence Award, and that the donation was accepted from his company Medicare 24.
Sibiya says he's in possession of WhatsApp communication suggesting Sentumule invited and accepted a donation from Matlala.
It is further alleged that 10 free refrigerators were accepted by General Sentumule as a donation from Medi24.
Sibiya continues with his testimony. Babalondenza, Eyewitness News.
And in the UK, police have confirmed the arrest of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor on suspicion of misconduct in public office. The arrest comes after police confirmed they were assessing a complaint over the alleged sharing of confidential material by the former prince with late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The former prince, who turned 66 today, has consistently denied any wrongdoing. The latest Epstein files released by the US State Department have revealed more people believed to have had various interactions with the late financier. Epstein died by suicide in 2019 while in custody awaiting trial on sex trafficking charges. Gold is trading at $5,007.08 an ounce. The rand is at 16.14 to the dollar, 21.83 to the pound, 19.07 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $70.35 a barrel.
Free-flowing traffic throughout 702 land at this hour. No accidents have been reported. However, look out for those faulty traffic lights in Ilovo, at Corlett and Ethel Oaklands. Traffic lights still not working in Hyde Park at Jan Smuts Republic.
It's a partly cloudy afternoon in Gauteng. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 29 and 30 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour: the son of former Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe has been questioned by police following a shooting at his home in Hyde Park.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Relebogile Mabotja
Live, streaming countrywide
on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Seven minutes after 2 o'clock, the second and final hour of 702 afternoons with me, Relebogile Mabotja. Don't worry, I didn't collapse, folks. We are trying to track down Wendy Nola and make sure that we can jump straight into our conversation in our consumer rights feature, Nola Knows, which of course gets super busy in between the different jobs that both her and I are doing. We're always communicating and literally just going through what are the different things that we can bring forward to all of the listeners. So I will touch on the conversation that we had earlier in the situation with this policy thing and people having to do extreme things to be heard and to be tended to. So do get in touch with us. 011 883 0702. SMS us 31702. Tweet at Relebogile M at Radio 702 using the hashtag 702 afternoons and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
702.
Nola Knows.
Nola Knows time with Wendy Nola. And the way that it works, just so I can absolutely give everybody a reminder that Wendy Nola is a consumer rights journalist, which means that there are certain rules of ethics that she works around. She cannot be paid, and certain things she has to tend to on her own. Her being a contributor to the show, she does do her best to tend to each and every listener. That there are many, many cases that she does not have the capacity to tend to. What we do ask is for your patience. Some of you will ask for a second time and for a third time to have their issue tended to. I hope you understand, and I've received many DMs that say, how much must I pay Wendy for her to tend to my issue first? Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. So that is just a reminder to all of you as you prepare for your consumer rights issues. Get in touch with us, 011 883 0702, and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702, as we are going to join into our consumer rights feature, Nola Knows. But as Wendy gets settled, we take a break.
The Checkers Extravaganza is now on, with over 1,500 deals every week. Like Sunfoil Pure Sunflower Oil 2 litres for $69.99. Tower Egbert's Instant Coffee 200 or 230 grams for $169.99. And Vaseline Body Lotion or Cream 400 mils, any two for 95 Rand. Save 65 Rand. Valid until 22 February, only at Checkers, Checkers Hyper, or shop on 6060.
Media is changing fast. So the question is, are you leading it or chasing it? The Pulse Media Leadership Conference is a one-day gathering of bold thinkers shaping what's next for media, marketing and leadership. It all happens on the 26th of February from 8 a.m. till 5 p.m. at the Galleria Conference venue in Sandton. Expect insights from Springbok coach Rassie Erasmus, the CEO of Montgrey Capital Michael Jordan, and global marketing icon Seth Godin, joining us live from New York via Zoom. Tickets are on sale now at ticketpro.co.za. Prime Media Broadcasting is a proud sub-sponsor of the Pulse Media Leadership Conference 2026.
Let's talk about space. Not any kind of space. A space that cares about people and productivity. A space that frees you up and anchors you down. That kind of space. A co-working space to build bigger and work better. From Wi-Fi to hot desks, private offices, collab hubs. It's the space you dreamed up. It exists. Whether you're solo or leading a team, this is the dream. Flexible workspace done properly. That's the space we're talking about. WeWork, made for work, built for business.
When the Mahindra Fusion Fest 2026, powered by 702, brings you Z, Focalistic, Dali Wonga, Zoe Mudija, and more. Fashion, art, and music will take center stage. And so can you by playing the daily Mahindra Fusion Fest quiz on 702 for up to 10,000 Rand and 2 tickets to the fest. WhatsApp the keyword Mahindra to 072-702-1702 with your name and ID number. Every day this week from 1 p.m., 702 afternoons with Relebogile Mabotja could call you back. The Mahindra Fusion Fest 2026, powered by 702. TCs and more on PrimeMediaPlus.com.
702.
Nola Knows.
12 minutes after 2 o'clock, Nola Knows is here. Wonderful!
In the house.
8830702. The WhatsApp line 0727021702. So I need to fill you in, Wendy. I don't want to waste time.
Yes.
So earlier on, we were talking about the case of Capitec Bank and the body that was left in. We spoke about,
I saw that.
all those different situations that we've seen, because it's not the first time that has been done. And we were asking of listeners, how far would you be willing to go for things you're entitled to? We even covered things like service delivery and things like that. But in the context of the consumer space, where we have seen people do the most extreme things, only to find ourselves back again at, sorry, here now, it's sorted. I want to know, what do you think the real issue is? Is it communication channels? Is it lack of accountability?
Yeah.
Because in my mind, for a person to make a decision to take a body to a bank, that is not a small... It was not taken lightly, especially with our beliefs in African culture.
I was going to
about
say
bodies.
the respect and all of that. Absolutely. It's not the first time. The big case I remember was years ago in Quadaguda, can't even remember, the old Stanger. What is it called now? KZN? Quadaguda, whatever. North coast of KZN. It was Old Mutual, and there was a body dump that happened there. I still remember it was an uncle, and they were burying him on the Saturday, and this was like the Thursday or the Friday. So what usually happens, look, you do get companies that run as out-and-out scams, so we're not going to talk about that scenario. With your bigger ones, it's usually two things. Something's gone wrong in the verifying of the claim. They've needed extra information, which hasn't been properly communicated, and so that delays it, but they haven't told the person. I take up a lot of these, including with Capitec. They haven't communicated properly with the client. Also, you have to remember, unfortunately, fraud with funeral policies is rife. I mean, people commit murder. They'll take out a policy in the name of someone and then kill them to get the payout. It does happen. So they have to do quite a lot of checking. But certainly, given that people need to bury their loved ones quickly, they do make promises of a payout in 24 hours, I think it is. And I think it's fair to say that most of them do go off without a hitch. But when they don't, it's usually a failing. Well, it's often, in the cases I take up, it's a failure of communication on the company's, the person that sold the policy's part. So, if it was, it's not a case of a rejection of the claim. It's a case of they've needed more information and not communicated it properly.
And thank you for sharing that, because I was saying, as I've gotten older, that maybe privilege previously blinded me, where I'd very easily judge people's extreme responses. And now I find myself in certain situations where I have access to a lot of privilege and I'm so frustrated. And now I look at people and how they respond. I'm like, you know what? Sometimes I can really, really empathize with why a person would go that far. They are at the end. They're at their wits' end.
Yeah, apart from, physical violence, I don't think we should be judgy about any form of extreme reaction from a frustrated consumer who feels they have no other choice. As I say, I'm not physical violence and threats and all of that apart, but this going with the body, you want proof, here's proof, that kind of thing. Certainly me in the work that I do, I can understand what can lead a family to that kind of drastic action.
Okay, so now let's jump into what we are chatting about today.
Okay, so you'll remember last month and the month before, actually, this is month 3 with the third revelation of a test result, the result of a crash test conducted by the Global New Car Assessment Program. It's based in London. The tests are done in a facility outside of Munich. They, for the past 9 years, have had a partnership with our Automobile Association, or AA, and the campaign's called Safer Cars for Africa. It's a hashtag. And the idea being that we don't, unlike other regions, we don't have our own NCAP for Africa. There's Australasia, there's Latin, there's European one, but we don't have one here. So we don't really know. The only way to truly know how a car will perform in a crash, how in other words, how safe a car really is to crash it. And the caveat there is that it has to be a very specific protocol of crashing. It has to be done in a lab. Global NCAP's criteria, reputation is untarnished. No manufacturer has ever been able to prove them wrong in terms of the ratings they come out with. So it's a rating between 1 and 5, 5 being great, obviously, and 0 being get the car off the road, although we haven't seen that from Hyundai yet in respect of its Grand i10, which we heard the results of in early December. So then we heard the Corolla Cross, the Toyota Corolla Cross, that SUV. It scored 2 stars for safety of the adults up front, 3 for the children in the back. Now, 2 is not ideal. We don't want, less than half. It suggests that the car has serious shortcomings. We'll get to the details of that. So the latest car to be tested, it was tested in September of last year in that facility outside of Europe. So what they do is the AA, in conjunction with NCAP, purchases a car like an ordinary customer here, because the point is it has to be a car sold in this market, because this exercise over the past 9 years with several models shows that the manufacturers, they're global manufacturers, right? But they don't, the cars in some cases may have the same names, but under the skin, they don't have the same level of safety equipment features, because our laws are so low, our regulations, the bar is so low that, for example, the cars locally don't even have to have traction control, which is second only to the seatbelt and the potential to save lives, right? Whereas in most other markets, you can't sell a car without traction control. And then we get to airbags, front airbags, side airbags, curtain airbags. Those have huge potential to save lives. But because those things aren't required by our regulators, the manufacturers will then, in many cases, especially with entry-level models, they just opt not to put them in where this life-saving equipment exists, and we have one of the highest accident rates in the world. So for me, this is a shocking issue, and I'm so thrilled that the AA and Global NCAP are testing so many cars and will continue to do that by all accounts, because until this test is conducted in this scientific world recognized way, we don't know what the safety of the car is, no matter what they try to tell us about their features. And sorry to waffle on, but one last thing, it's very important to say that many of the manufacturers in South Africa will boast about the NCAP rating that the car has had in other markets, in Australia, in Europe, and that is completely meaningless here, because we have been shown time and time again that the cars are not the same under the skin. They don't have the same level of safety as their counterparts in other markets have, and that's the entire point of the exercise. So, with that long preamble out of the way, the car that's been most recently tested is the Chery Tiggo 7 Pro. So it's a very big seller. The Tiggo range is a big seller in South Africa. The 5 is actually in the top 5 of best-selling passenger cars. And the AA was being asked repeatedly by many people to, why aren't you testing the Chinese cars? So they went and did this in September. The results were made known yesterday, and we have with us Bobby Ramagwede, who is the CEO of the AA, and to help us unpack what the results and what the report from Global NCAP says about this car, which is again the Chery Tiggo 7 Pro. So welcome, Bobby.
Thanks, Wendy.
So like the Toyota Corolla Cross result, which we discussed last month, this is a disappointing result with 2 stars for the adults in the front of the vehicle. Won't you tell us, and it's for similar reasons, won't you just share with our audience why a 2-star, why not a 3-star or a 4-star?
Right,
or
okay.
a 5?
So similar to the Corolla Cross, this particular vehicle had a footwell area and body shell that were found to be unstable. That basically means that they can't withstand further loading. So the forces exerted during a crash end up deforming the structure around the footwell.
Can I just interrupt quickly for the listeners' benefit? Further loadings means at higher speeds. Won't you explain? This is really the test lab situation is actually a relatively low speed crash. Why don't you just explain that before we carry on with the other
So in the
issues?
in the test scenario, we taper down the speed in order to control the environment. In the test scenario, I think we tested around 60 kilometers per hour, if not 56 kilometers per hour. But there and thereabouts, to simulate what things could look like in a more tame environment, if I may use that. But in reality, most accidents occur anything beyond 60 kilometers into 80 kilometers per hour if you take into account braking and reduction in speed. So
what they do see in terms of what the data and the crash dummies tell them is that things would be a lot worse actually in this particular vehicle at a higher speed. Okay.
Precisely.
Right.
The big item here, and the reason why it got an automatic 2-star, is the absence of a curtain airbag. That's an automatic 2 stars. It basically implies that we can't test the vehicle for side impact protection. The absence thereof implies that it would fail either way.
What sort of side impact scenarios are we talking about here?
So we use a pole test, but a typical side impact scenario would be a T-boning, for instance.
Of course, right. Okay, and rolling of the car would also come into play, would it not?
That comes into play, but for vehicles without electronic stability control, there too we assume that it's not going to be able to control the vehicle and is likely to roll.
Okay. All right, so we can assume then that when Chery, a major Chinese automaker, makes this same vehicle for other markets, that they would have curtain airbags because it's legally required. Am I right in saying that?
Correct. A good example of that is the European version.
Okay.
It's scored a Euro NCAP rating of 5, and it has, in essence, has all the bells and whistles as far as safety is concerned.
Okay. So I think that would be quite an alarming bit of information for people, and that's really the point of doing these shows, is that the whole Global NCAP is very big on. They're a not-for-profit organization, and they talk about democratizing safety.
Correct.
So why should an African motorist buying one of these cars have less in terms of protective features than their counterpart in Europe or Australia or whatever the case may be?
Or more importantly, why are safety features bought up and not standardized across vehicles, and we leave the luxury bits as the bits that you buy up?
Yeah, the things you can see and feel and touch, as opposed to, I suppose, for me, the manufacturers have kind of got away with it because you're not picturing yourself having a crash, first of all, and secondly, you can't have any way of knowing how safe the car is or isn't. So you focus on the things you can feel and touch and get some kind of dopamine hits out of,
Indeed.
The nice mags, the way it looks, the leather seats, the sound system, and all those other things. So it's quite a hard sell, but that it's really important for all those people, and again, this very high accident rate that we have, for all those people who are going to crash, it then becomes everything when the car doesn't perform as well as it could have in terms of protecting you from injury or worse.
You're quite right.
Okay, so let's... So apart from that, you and the Global NCAP execs have some concerns about the way that Chery has been marketing its Tigo brand in South Africa. In short, you've said that some of the things are misleading. Shall we start with the in-house crash? And to be clear, the crash that Chery South Africa did as a marketing exercise last August was not of this vehicle that we're talking about now, the Chery Tiggo 7. It was the 9, which is a bigger, more luxury version of the Tiggo.
Correct.
So let's talk about that. What happened in August of last year?
Yeah, so we like to refer to it as a stunt as opposed to a test.
Okay.
Chery had 2 Tiggo 9s perform a radio-controlled head-on collision. Now, the unfortunate thing about that is all it demonstrates is the external structural integrity of the vehicle. With the absence of dummies and sensory parameters, they could not collect any data. Number 2, it was an uncontrolled environment. Point number 3 of real concern to us is that it could have they had endangered the spectators. It's not the type of thing you do in front of people.
It's not a spectator undertaking, ideally.
Certainly not. But I think the biggest thing is that it undermines the value and the hard work that goes into the rigor behind Global NCAP and the various other NCAP franchises.
Yeah. So I was thinking, did they do that knowing that that Global NCAP was going to be testing their cars? Because that was in August and the car was tested in September, and Global NCAP tells me they buy the car in advance, and they also contact the head offices and say, we need you to bring the car seats that you say go with the car so we can test them. I did run that by Chery, and I was told this morning, please note the planning of the Tiggo 9 collision test began months before the purchase of the said Tiggo 7 for crash testing, and the notification to a Chery representative regarding the plan to conduct an NCAP test. The two events are completely unrelated. Okay. I also think it's important, and I've got my eye on the clock as we head to news, that I asked Global NCAP's technical director, Alejandro Furas, about what they're calling a stunt and how valid those sort of outcome of such an exercise was. And he said exactly what you said. It's performed in a public road, which differs from a lab environment. There's a safety issue for people. And second, the lab environment secures accuracy in measurements, alignments, and surrounding parameters. He said the test is it's actually done at 64 kilometers an hour, but it simulates a crash between two cars of similar size and weight going at 56 kilometers an hour. So that's below even our 60 limit in suburban areas. But he said the Tiggo 9 stunt crash was done at much lower speeds.
Yes.
So there's that. And he said the main missing part, they get most of the information, not from what the car looks like from the outside, but what the crash test dummy data, they're all wired up, shows them in terms of the restraints, how do the seatbelts work, how do the airbags work in terms of protecting in such a situation. So he said it really doesn't do much except, what did he say? It's a nice marketing exercise showing impressive radio-controlled capabilities of the engineering team and nothing more than that. So I think it's important to say that, because if consumers don't know, they see this exercise. It looks great, makes great video, but what do you know? What are you looking at? I mean, are you thinking, like, crash test dummies? It's radio control. Like, what is the point? It doesn't really prove anything. But if the company's going, oh wow, look how fantastic these cars didn't disintegrate, they didn't whatever, and you think, well, yeah, that must be safe. But it's completely invalid exercise in terms of testing a car scientifically for its safety. So I think that's important to say. I think, Relebogile, shall we take a break and pick up in a bit?
Definitely. It is time for Eyewitness News Headlines. It's 2:30. We will be continuing with our consumer rights feature, Nola Knows. Get in touch with us at 11-883-0702. The WhatsApp line 072-702-1702. Good afternoon, Mbali.
Thanks, Relebogile. Good afternoon. The son of former Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe is being questioned by police following a shooting in Hyde Park today. 29-year-old Bellarmine Mugabe was seen handcuffed by police inside the luxury property this afternoon. It's understood that a security officer who works for the Mugabes was shot earlier today. Suspended Deputy National Police Commissioner Shadrack Sibiya claims his former subordinate invited alleged criminal kingpin Vusimuzi Matlala to the SAPS Service Excellence Awards. Sibiya, testifying at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry in Pretoria today, has suggested that Hilda Sintumule, who is currently acting in his position, has a very questionable relationship with Matlala. And the state has raised a conflict of interest concern in the corruption case against former Public Enterprises Minister Malusi Gigaba. The prosecutor told the court today that Gigaba's instructing attorney is also representing a key state witness whom authorities have been pursuing for over a year. Well, those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 3 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Well, at this stage, things are looking really good in 702 land. No serious accidents have been reported on our highways. However, look out for those faulty traffic lights in Ilovo, at Collet and Ethel Oakland. There's also slow-moving traffic. This is approaching the intersection of Jan Smuts and Republic due to faulty traffic lights. That's in Hyde Park. Traffic lights out of order in Midrand at Ellendale and Mastiff, as well as in Lone Hill at Lone Hill Boulevard and Main Road. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app. Amidst global uncertainty, Africa offers opportunities. At the African Markets Conference 2026, decision makers from across Africa and the world will explore how policy reform, market development, and private capital can accelerate sustainable growth across the continent at scale. Learn more at standardbank.co.za/CIB. Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
When tax issues get complex, you need more than general advice. You need specialist insight. AJM turns intricate tax challenges into clear strategic solutions. From disputes and litigation to long-term planning, our expertise protects what matters to you and your business. With teams in Cape Town, Johannesburg, and Namibia, we deliver the rigorous analysis high-stakes decisions demand. AJM. Complex tax matters simply resolved.
Coming up
on 702 Drive with John Perlman.
702 Drive with John Perlman is coming up from 3 to 6 p.m. And we're going to get to find out what is coming up on his show. Good afternoon, John. How are you doing?
Doing very well, thanks. How are you?
I am good, and I have to ask you a question because
yes, sure.
You've been doing this media thing, reporting for years. Earlier on in the show, we were talking about, the cases where people would bring a body to a bank because a policy hasn't been paid out and things like that. And I shared that the older I've gotten, I actually have a lot more sympathy for people that do extreme things
Yes.
out of frustration, whether it's service delivery, private, and all those things. Now, there's a view that I'm encouraging violence and things like that, but I feel like there's a certain level of maybe humanity we're missing when it comes to saying, I don't agree with violence. I don't agree with putting a body in a bank because it's hazardous. However, I also think I'm in a privileged position to not understand what it would take for a person to get to that point. I just wanted to get your view on the situation of people having to do extreme things, which sometimes includes burning tires and putting them on the road and blocking traffic or destroying a building.
Yeah, I'm sure. There's a lot in your question. So there was a study done about 15 years ago by some sociologists here, and they titled it "The Smoke That Calls." And they got their title from conversations they had with people saying, "You ignore us until we make fire and until we make smoke." So I understand where that comes from. I have, however, found myself increasingly furious at the burning of public buildings.
Yes.
I think that's a line for me. So, be it a university building, be it a community center, and so on. I see, for example, putting tires in the road and blocking things
traffic,
as different. But I think the destruction of public infrastructure is, it's been over the line for me for a long time now.
All right, what's coming up on your show today, John?
So we're going to just catch up and find out what's happening with those people out in Springs who were saying they're digging for gold, and then the police came and told them to all go away, and I understand they're all back. Oren Singh is on a very, very important story. There are reports that the son of former Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe has been involved in a shooting incident. Oren Singh is going to give us more details on that. We're hoping to speak to Adam Gilchrist out in the UK about the arrest of the man who formerly was Prince Andrew.
Right.
Now Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, I think is the title he goes by. He's been arrested for, I think the charge is abuse while in public office. Russian soldiers, the people who were abducted from South Africa on false pretenses, 4 of them have managed to escape the hell they were in. We hope to look at that story after 4. Deputy National Police Commissioner General Shadrach Sibia, I nearly said Nhlanhla Sibia, which is
it gets very confusing.
Mixing my generals, is at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry, and we'll catch up with what's happening there.
702 Drive with John Perlman coming up from 3 to 6 p.m.
702.
Nola Knows.
And we continue with our consumer rights feature, Nola Knows with Wendy Nola. But we aren't just with Wendy Nola. We're also joined by Bobby Ramagwede, who's the CEO of the Automobile Association, as we've been having a conversation around this new car assessment program and the crash test result of the Cherry Tiggo 7. And Wendy's been really getting into certain details. But Wendy, I have to tell you something before we jump into certain things, which is there's a message that says, I love this show. When Wendy retires, she could have a major side hustle helping the consumer gang. I'm just planting that seed.
What do you think I'm doing now?
No, but when you retire so that you can take money. That's what I think they're trying to say. So you can take money.
No, that would never work. Imagine the pressure of that. I didn't answer that email or get that result. No, after like nearly 3 decades of doing it this way, the journalism way, I don't think I could adapt to now taking money. It would totally ruin it for me.
Wendy will never sell her soul. He'll never sell his soul.
No. It has to be free health. That's. I mean, I'm thankful for all the media platforms, including Prime Media, who pay me to give this content and help consumers. That's how it works. So yes, thank you, Prime Media. That's who you should thank, actually, because without the media platforms, it would be difficult for me to do my work. Anyway,
You
okay,
guys
thank
can
you for
also
that.
follow Wendy on TikTok, and I see you also recording videos with News 24. So there are many other stories. I encourage
Yes.
you to follow her work.
Suddenly we have to video everything. Hey,
Yes.
when I've got a face for radio. Anyway, so we were talking about the Cherry Tigo 7 Pro. I think there could be some name confusion. So in putting out its statement yesterday about these crash test results, the AA said it's important to note that the locally sold Tigo, which was crashed outside Munich by Global NCAP last September, was the previous generation Tigo 7 Pro Distinction, which is currently on sale locally. The current generation Tigo 7 Prime, the entry point into the current generation range, lacks the same highlighted features as the Tigo 7 Pro Distinction. I hope that it's got a lot of different variations to get your mind around it, but basically the current Tigo 7 Prime, the entry point into the Tigo range, does have the same shortcomings as the one that was tested in Munich. So it's not relevant to say, oh, well, my model isn't that one, so it must be fine. Okay, Bobby, thanks for staying with us. In terms of your and Global NCAP's concerns around Cherry's misleading marketing, won't you share with us what has been happening? And I've seen some of it online, where NCAP results that were achieved in other markets on other versions of the car that aren't sold in this country are used to market the cars that are sold in this country.
Yeah, look, again, this ties back to the fact that there isn't an Africa NCAP, right? So, and it's really easy to sell a car by gloating about how it's passed Euro NCAP standards very well. The challenge therein is that in and of itself, it's a misrepresentation of the vehicle that's being sold in the local market. So what tends to happen is an OE will have a vehicle tested in Europe. Naturally, because the standards are so much higher in Europe, it does well.
Yep.
Then they'll take those results and almost posture them as though the car that's being sold locally shares or is the same vehicle.
Oh, yeah.
And until we get our hands on it, one cannot rest their hat on that.
Sure, because it applies to other cars. I saw on their website some marketing information that read the Tigo 7 Pro, which was launched in Australia recently and introduced to South Africa as the Tigo 7 Pro Max, has achieved a 5-star safety rating from the Australasian NCAP in Australia. So that's straight out saying it's the same car. The 5-star NCAP safety rating is confirmation of Cherry's commitment to excellence in automotive safety, ensuring the utmost protection for its customers and other road users. So that's definitely misleading, because as we know now that it's not the same car. But I mean, the average consumer, unless told that, would absolutely assume that it's the same car.
Yeah, look, a lot of people look up to the Euro NCAP rating.
So let's talk about the kinds of features that are that are a legal requirement to have in the car, because I mean the advancement in protective measures in cars has just been phenomenal in the last decade particularly, and it's in this country they tend to be in the high end cars, but in many other markets the legislators understand that the importance of these features, so they have legislated that these features have to be in a car if you're going to sell it in our market. That's the end of. So there's none of us will take this out and we won't put the curtain airbags in, and won't you just run through some of the things which, if you buy any car in Europe, for example, you will have these safety features which you won't find in an entry-level car here, or even beyond entry level, because they simply don't have to be. The regulations don't allow for them to be.
I think you touched on one earlier on.
Yeah.
Electronic stability control.
Oh, isn't that a biggie? I can't believe it's not mandated here yet.
I think it's criminal to have a vehicle that doesn't have ESC.
Am I going to put you on the spot if I ask you to explain in layman's terms what traction control, electronic stability control is all the same thing, what it actually does?
It's It's in simple terms an electronic system where the car ensures that all four wheels remain on the road. So as the terrain evolves and as the conditions change, it's got a really smart brain behind it and makes sure that the car remains stable, almost as the name says it.
So when I'm driving along doing a major road trip and you see the tire tracks rapidly leaving the road and going into the grass, that for me suggests no traction control on that vehicle.
Yeah.
And you see it all the time.
That's a really good example.
That's the difference between having it and not having it. And in my past career, and tandem career as a motoring journalist, when we used to test these cars, we would switch it on and off, and so that could, the OEM is now graphically showing us what the system actually does. And when you've done that exercise, you appreciate that invisible feature.
Correct.
All the more. Okay, so there are very few markets outside of Africa, I think, where that's not mandatory now. Am I speaking out of turn?
You are not speaking out of turn.
All right, we need to take a break, Wendy. And I think when we come back, I see you, Nadia. I see you, Nomhle, in Joburg for us to be able to take some of your questions that you have. Get in touch with us, 011 883 0702 in the WhatsApp line, 072 702 1702.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable. You receive up to 745,000 rand worth of legal services per year. Our range of plans include cover for you, your spouse, children, and extended family. Plans include cover for civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Whether it's protection orders, gender-based violence, uncontested divorce, or poor service, your Clientele Legal lawyer will be there to assist you. Our services are convenient. Simply pick up the phone and call your lawyer or send us an email and we'll get back to you. All plans include a bail benefit of up to 5,000 rand and we'll go to the police station and pay it for you. Plus, Clientele Legal offers you 24-hour telephonic legal advice. SMS Legal to 48721. That's legal to 48721. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
This Saturday, the Lions clash with the Hollywood Bets Sharks in the Vodacom United Rugby Championship at Ellis Park Stadium. Featuring fierce rivalry, big hits and electric atmosphere, you don't want to miss this unforgettable showdown when two South African giants go head to head. Grab tickets for all your friends and family at ticketpros.co.za now and arrive early at Ellis Park Stadium to get in the match day vibe for the Lions versus the Hollywood Bets Sharks.
Psst. Hey, no longer feeling like the man you used to be?
The man who's the life of the party even when he doesn't attend.
The fact is, 95% of men with low testosterone go untreated.
Vitamin High Performance Supplements for men helps recharge energy, regain lean muscle, and reload performance. Available at all good pharmacies and Vitalamin.co.za.
Vitalamin. Don't get older. Get better.
702.
Nola knows.
And it is 13 minutes to 3 o'clock. We continue with our consumer rights feature, Nola Knows, with Wendy Nola. Wendy, as we wrap up with our guest and then we quickly jump to the listeners that are waiting to chat to you, but I have to just bring in here, Wendy, whenever I think about the crash tests, I always wonder if cars were ever truly designed for women. Just a thought. Because safety belts,
you're going to have to elaborate.
And the chest. So let's say for example, many things we know that when they were designed, it was custom designed where everybody who tested it was a man. But then it stuck. So I've heard many women who, for example, say, I can't put the safety belt properly because I have breasts, and they go back to the fact that cars were never actually designed for women's bodies.
Okay, that does clash with the fact that you need to be secured in the seat. There's no other safe way to do it. But I see Bobby's putting his hand up for this one. Are you not? Okay.
Definitely not.
But I mean, that's, yeah, I mean, I let's just say I'm not flat-chested either, so I do understand.
Look, we still wear the belts, but yes.
we still wear them.
I'm just curious from, Bobby's experience, were cars ever truly designed for women's bodies? That's basically the question.
Okay, you're not getting off this one.
Yeah, clearly not. No, cars were designed to transport people.
Bobby. Bobby.
There are instances where some cars have 5-point harness seat belts, but those are really impractical.
Oh, yeah, they come like racing drivers.
Over your shoulders, yeah.
Yeah, okay. But yes, I agree with. I've never really thought about it because it's just been a reality. But yes, the seatbelt can be awkward on a female anatomy. Let's just leave it there. Before we take a call from listener, we started and asked Bobby what features are absolutely legal, legally required, and even the cheapest car, and let's use Europe as an example, that are not legal, that are not illegally required here. So we talked about traction control. What are the other big ones? The curtain airbags.
Next up is all the airbags.
All bags. Oh, we don't have to have any. We do have to have some, I think.
So we have to have some. I think we have to have
2.
4 airbags. But the curtain airbag is not compulsory in this country. And it plays a really big role.
Absolutely. And then there's also that electronic braking systems. Not electronic, automatic. Emergency braking, which is a huge one, and we'll get that.
Anti-lock braking.
Anti-lock braking we have to have, don't we? That's the ABS. But I'm talking about when the car brakes for you and it senses you're about to have a collision.
Got you.
And that would save a lot of, would do the panel beaters out of a lot of business. That's for sure. So yeah, okay. Are we done? Is there anything you want to add before we quickly end?
Yeah, it's really just a plea to the consumer. Gone are the days where we buy cars for how pretty they are, how fast they are, and just their fuel efficiency. I think the consumer needs to get to a point where they start by thinking about how safe their vehicle is. It's not the sexiest topic, but it's a critical one.
Right. So it's a matter of life and death, literally,
Indeed.
or horrible disfigurement,
Yeah.
loss of earning power and all the rest. It's a huge issue, and you can tell I feel very passionate about it. So we should ask about safety, not to be so quick to ask about the sound systems and everything else.
Safety all the time. Thank
Safety
you so
first.
much, Bobby, for chatting to us. I feel like we're going to call on you again. I need to interrogate your experience and some of the other things when it comes to cars, especially just in educating us and making us all more aware about some of the things that we need to look out for when we are buying cars. So we open up the lines with the time we have left, 011 883 0702, the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702. Nomhle, you've been so patient. You have a gift voucher issue. What happened?
Yes, hi Wendy, hi Relay. So in 2024, I had my baby shower around June, actually in June, and I got a couple of gift vouchers. 2025, Mother's Day, my husband decides to take me out on Mother's Day lunch, and I remembered that I have 2 left of those gift vouchers, a 4,000 rands one from At Home and a 1,000 rands from Toy King. So I go to At Home, obviously, because it's the 4,000 rands voucher, and I tell them that my nanny, I asked my nanny about it, and she said she threw away the package because she saw it sitting for a long time. So I go to At Home, explain the situation to them, and they ask me a whole lot of questions, right? Where did I buy it? All of this. They go to the back, they call, and also not. And this was At Home Sandton, and it was bought at At Home Boxburg. I give them all the information, and then they come back and tell me that, nope, we treat gift vouchers as cash. If you lose it, you've lost the cash. Following Monday, I called At Home, the head office. I followed up, I think June. They raised the call ticket, but basically they told me the exact same thing. They treat it as cash, and if I lose it, it's gone. And the gentleman actually then said to me, if you were robbed, you could go to the police station and get an affidavit, and then we can, if it's not used, you'll get the gift voucher back. But I've already called and explained the situation, so I couldn't go to the police station and say I was robbed. So then I let it go. I was very heartbroken. I didn't even call now the whole Toy Kingdom. I was just like, I lost 4,000 rands. I'm not gonna, I was heartbroken about it.
So let's see, Wendy, in a case like this, I mean, there is the part of what are businesses legally obligated to do, and what could they extend themselves to doing just in the interests of what's that word? Consumer friendly, blah, blah, blah. That
Yeah,
one.
customer service, yes.
Yes.
So I'm so glad you mentioned this scenario, because I had a similar case not that long ago of somebody who, lost actually it was somebody who'd bought it, and before she could hand it over as a Christmas gift to somebody, it went missing. It was quite a lot of, it wasn't 4,000, it was 1,600 Rand, I remember now. And the company concerned, also part of a national brand, initially said, yes, okay, because when you buy these things, you give all your information, right? So she gave her ID and all of that. And they said, yes, we can see it, and it hasn't been redeemed, and they cancelled it. So nobody could redeem that voucher. And they said, we'll reissue one, and then they didn't. And then when she pushed it, they said, no, we treat it as cash. Read our T's and C's. And I thought, no, that is not fair. And I got an opinion from Lee Subrati, who's been on the show many times. He's the Consumer Goods and Services Ombud. And I've been trying to find his exact quote while we were sitting talking about this. And basically what he said was that regardless of a company's T's and C's around we treat it as cash, if it can be proven that the gift voucher can be located and it can be proven that it was not redeemed, so the company suffered no loss, and nobody else could ever redeem it, for them to withhold that money is not fair. So that's the Ombudsman's view, which has a lot of standing, obviously. So if you want to, please email me the details of that case with whatever reference numbers, your ID number, or no, it wouldn't be your ID number, it would be the person who gave it to you. But if you have any details of the voucher at all, and certainly ask the person who gave it to you to help, and they can find it and stop it. Because obviously, if they're going to reissue a voucher, and there's still a possibility that someone either has or could use the original one, that's not fair to them.
Yes.
That's not, so you've got to be fair to both sides here. But if it can be proven that the voucher has never been redeemed and that they have the ability to cancel it, then it's a different story, and I'll be very happy to pursue that.
Thank you so much. Lonhle, stay on the line so that our producer can give you the details. Nadia, very quickly, you bought a cherry in 2022 and you have some concerns. What's going on?
Yes, hi Lebo and hi Wendy and hi Funny. I hope Bobby's still there. You should get him back on the program. I'm just worried. I heard you said cherry Tigo 7 or 5. I've got the cherry 4. I'm worried is that I'm not afraid with all these gadgets and talking what you are talking about. So I'm just worried about my cherry Tigo 4.
I'm going to hand this over to Bobby to answer.
Oh, Bobby's still with us. Thank you, Bobby.
Yes.
I'm still with you. Hi there. Your name is Nadia, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Hi, Nadia. So the best approach for this one is to just ensure the standard features list. Have a look at the standard feature list. What you're looking out for there is electronic stability control, also known as ESC, and the other, specifically look out for the curtain airbag. In the instance that the vehicle is missing either of those two, then strongly consider changing your car.
I think this would be a good point to say that, like Hyundai and Toyota, there's no legal impediment to selling cars without these safety features in them. So it's not a question of, they are breaking any South African laws or regulations. This exercise is just to prove to South Africans, make South Africans realize that the same versions of their cars in other markets have much better protection because their governments in those countries require it of the manufacturers. So the manufacturer will put this top spec these safety features in those cars, but for South Africa, because the laws are so inadequate, they just won't do it. And the idea is to let South Africans know this and to start asking for changes and to buy models that have the minimum spec that's required in other markets. There's nothing illegal about the cars, just to stress that.
There's another question here, and it's so long, Wendy. I might have to pass it on to you, but it also is around the brand new Tigo 7 Pro Max AWD from 2024 saying that there have been issues from the beginning. They had to replace an electronic system. They're saying that they felt that there was a lack of technical knowledge, as many dealers commented that they never saw these issues before. And then Cherry South Africa blamed the dealer, and then the dealer blamed OEM. They say that they did try to get in touch with you, Wendy. So maybe what we can do, and they asked to be anonymous as we close off the show, is to pass them on to you and get those details, as we have been speaking about this, to see. I did want to just make a note, Wendy, and I saw somebody on TikTok did the same thing, to share, to say it is normal for certain it was actually also in our car feature. It is normal for certain brands for all manufacturers to have a faulty car. What is not normal is how the manufacturers or dealerships deal with it, where now your car's brand new and faulty at the same time.
Yeah, I always say it's not the mistake. It's how the company deals with it that they should be judged on, because all industries make mistakes. With cars, they're complicated and expensive, but we don't judge them on the mistake unless it's massive and they aren't fixing it. But they should treat their customers with respect, and in terms of the law, when those mistakes happen.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there. Wendy Nola, I'm glad you're safe and okay. Pashida will be in touch, and we will see you next time. Thank you, Bobby.
Thank you.
Relebogile is on X at Relebogile M.
Thank you so much for joining us on 702 Afternoons. We're back tomorrow. It's the Friday edition of the show. John Perlman is up next. It's 3 o'clock.
This is EWN.
The son of former President Mugabe questioned after shooting, and a factory fire forces mass evacuations in Ekurhuleni. Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. The son of former Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe